Countless zombies flood into a school auditorium, completely devouring a girl at the center and leaving only her head, which is thrown out of the crowd with tears of regret. This is the focus of today's episode on the latest Korean horror film, The Sin. The main character is a dance student who recently landed a movie role through an audition. On the day of the shoot, she catches the bus early to the set. On the way, the bus passes a car accident scene, which reminds her of her mother's accident. Though she survived that day by a miracle, she developed a strange illness, losing many memories and experiencing terrifying hallucinations during nosebleeds. Nonetheless, she carries on and soon arrives at the filming location, an abandoned school. As she steps into a particular building, she senses an unusual energy and even hears a witch's whispers, prompting her to look up and see a half-face behind a window. Just then, a crew member calls out, and as she moves forward, someone falls from the roof. Terrified, she realizes it's only a prop dummy. The scare leaves her unsettled for a long time. However, because the crew rents the location by the hour, wasting time means wasting money, so she musters her spirits and heads to the restroom to change into her costume. There, she unexpectedly meets a junior from her dance troupe and learns that the dance they're filming was choreographed by the junior months ago. She hadn't expected to encounter her junior here. After finding out that a junior from her dance troupe was also a lead in the film, the main character felt a bit awkward. She had thought she was the only lead and was surprised to be sharing the role with her junior. She planned to meet the director 2 hours before the end of the shoot. The director, known for his experimental films, had chosen dance as the theme for his new project, which is why he cast dancers as the leads. The first scene featured the protagonist's solo dance, a style wildly different from anything she had learned before, unconventional and intense. It resembled a traditional Korean shamanistic dance. As she performed, a female assistant went downstairs to check the ventilation fans and spotted strange symbols on the wall. Meanwhile, the second act was being filmed on the rooftop, where the protagonist's solo dance was remarkable, her forceful and unusual moves seeming to possess a mysterious power. Soon, her junior's character came in, disrupting her rhythm. The junior's role was to tempt the protagonist to jump off the building. As if in a trance, she moved towards the railing and mimicked jumping. Below, a prop dummy lay ready. In a daze, it was as if she really saw her own body. She fell to her knees and threw up. After overcoming her nausea, she saw a group of odd figures standing across the rooftop, drawing symbols on the ground. Meanwhile, the female assistant who went to check the fans hadn't returned, prompting a male assistant to go downstairs to look for her. Luckily, he quickly found the female assistant. Just as the male assistant was about to call out to her, she stabbed him with a screwdriver, leaving him like a hornet's nest. It seems the cursed symbols on the wall changed her behavior. Covered in blood, she returned to the rooftop and stood by the railing, giving the protagonist a deep look before disappearing from everyone's view. Everyone rushed to the railing to see what happened. In a bizarre twist, the female assistant, who should have been dead, stood up and bit a male colleague, acting just like a zombie. The crew was thrown into chaos. They tried to call for help but found no cell signal. At that moment, the director hurriedly left with his bag, and some crew members immediately followed him. The junior also woke the stunned protagonist, and they both hurried downstairs to catch up with the director. Halfway there, the director suddenly started filming the crew with his camera. Everyone was already nervous and ignored the director's erratic behavior. Just then, the junior noticed a security camera in the corner still operating, even though the building had been abandoned for years. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the building, and as everyone tried to leave, they found the stairway blocked by debris, forcing them to go up one floor. Just as a slightly drunk man in a cap pushed open a door, he saw a zombified male assistant and quickly shut it. Fortunately, zombies can't open doors, they only know how to bang mechanically, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They cleared the debris from the stairway but then found the hallway blocked by cabinets. The man in the cap didn't give up. He climbed over the cabinets to escape, and the protagonist followed him. The director was at the back of the group when he sensed someone behind him and turned to see it was the male assistant catching up. As those ahead heard screams from behind, they quickened their pace, and the protagonist desperately ran towards the exit. The group of 4 reached the main door of the teaching building, where dead animals hung as if part of some shamanic ritual. A man in a sports shirt tried to climb out, but was tackled by zombies that suddenly appeared, guarding the door. He struggled fiercely and managed to break free from the zombies, but he was already bitten. A man in a cap picked up an iron rod from the ground and mercilessly killed the injured sports shirt man. He then ran towards the parking lot, with the protagonist and her junior following quickly. Halfway there, the junior twisted her ankle, but the 2 ahead didn't even glance back and ran straight to the car in the parking lot. They drove away from the pursuing zombies, desperately fleeing the abandoned school. Suddenly, a man with a headscarf appeared and shot at their car several times. When the protagonist regained consciousness, she found the man in the cap severely wounded. He managed to open the door and crawl out of the car, weakly calling for help. But the protagonist hesitated for only a few seconds before running away. The next moment, the man in the cap was devoured by the approaching zombies. Overwhelmed with fear, the protagonist hid in a warehouse, covering her mouth to stay silent. Just then, mysterious music played from the school's public address system, drawing the zombies towards the sound. The protagonist narrowly escaped the dangerous situation but was suddenly grabbed by the director, who covered her mouth. As she looked at him puzzled, she asked what was really happening. The director then revealed that the dance she performed was a ritual to summon the dead. The director, driven by greed, accepted an investment from a mysterious rich woman. She asked him to set up a film crew and lured the protagonist to shoot at an abandoned school. The director didn't expect things to turn out this way. With just 1 hour left to finish the shoot, he hoped the protagonist would continue filming with him. As he was about to open the warehouse door, he was suddenly shot dead. Then a police officer took the protagonist outside, but they weren't there to rescue her. The police were there because the warehouse supposedly stored drugs, and the protagonist's sudden appearance and inconsistent statements made her look suspicious. The police chief considered her a suspect. Just then, other officers spotted the man in the cap inside the car. The chief got distracted and let go of the protagonist, who seized the chance to escape, prompting the chief to shoot at her. Strangely, he couldn't hit her despite the short distance. The chief ordered his officers to catch her, and a quick police officer soon tackled her. But before he could take her back, he was knocked down by a man in a hood. Meanwhile, the police chief was overwhelmed by a group of hooded people. At that moment, gunshots rang out from the woods. It was the quick police officer hitting the hooded man. Just as she was about to give up, her junior suddenly grabbed her from behind, and they fled towards the edge of the forest. The protagonist was tired and scared, nearly breaking down. When they saw a gas station nearby, they hid in its supermarket to rest. The protagonist went to the restroom to clean up but suddenly got a nosebleed. The protagonist saw a vision of her mother again, followed by memories of the day of the car accident. Her mother said she wanted to protect her but actually caused the accident intending to kill her. The protagonist couldn't understand why her mother would do this to her. Then, her junior handed her a bottle of mineral water. Shortly after drinking it, she felt dizzy and suddenly collapsed, unconscious. When the protagonist woke up, she found herself tied up in the school hall, guarded by people in hoods with guns. She didn't understand what she had done wrong and kept begging them to let her go. However, a masked person on the rooftop stepped forward and shot her in the chest. Strangely, the protagonist didn't die from the gunshot. Then the masked person removed their hood, revealing that it was the rich woman who had funded the director. Why did this rich woman want to capture the protagonist? 9 years ago, the protagonist started taking dance classes. The rich woman's nephew would sneak in after class to watch his favorite girl dance. The protagonist mistakenly thought the nephew was watching her and bravely confessed her feelings, only to be immediately rejected and scorned by him. She then discovered that the nephew actually liked another girl in the dance class, and they were in love. Feeling jealous and humiliated, she tried to kiss the nephew by imitating the other girl, but he pushed her away. Heartbroken, she ran home and cried bitterly. Looking in the mirror, she saw herself turn into a boy and silently cast a spell to control the nephew, causing him to walk into traffic and get hit by a car. The nephew's funeral was quickly arranged, and as the protagonist watched the devastated girl, she cursed her to die as well. Surprisingly, not long after, the girl really drowned, and the rich woman's sister, devastated by the loss of her only son, took her own life. The rich woman found the driver who hit her nephew and shot him dead, thinking she had avenged her nephew. However, 9 years later, the junior told the rich woman that the protagonist was a witch responsible for her nephew's death. To uncover the truth, the rich woman investigated further and discovered a trail of deaths around the protagonist, leading her to constantly change schools. The junior said that ordinary methods couldn't kill the protagonist. After discovering her true nature, the protagonist's mother tried to poison her, but she survived unscathed, while her mother ended up tormented in a mental hospital. Even the subsequent car accident couldn't kill the protagonist, only summoning the dead could truly eliminate the witch. So, the junior and the rich woman teamed up to create this elaborate setup. To avoid harming innocents, they chose an abandoned school as the location. The crew members were all villains with criminal intentions, and the protagonist, suffering from memory loss, was unaware of her alleged crimes. At that time, the junior prepared a ritual altar to help the rich woman kill the witch once and for all. They used speakers to attract zombies to devour the protagonist, leaving only her severed head thrown out of the crowd. Now that the protagonist was dead, the rich woman realized the plan had caused too many deaths and that she couldn't escape the law. So, she took her own life. At the end of the movie, the junior drives home, walks up to a mirror, and sees the protagonist's face in the reflection. It turns out that the person devoured by the zombies was the junior. The drug in the mineral water couldn't really knock out the protagonist, she was just pretending to faint. After hearing a conversation between the junior and the rich woman, the protagonist learned she had been framed. The rich woman was the girl who had supposedly drowned years ago, but she hadn't died and had learned witchcraft to seek revenge for the nephew. Unfortunately for her, the protagonist was protected by magical powers that could withstand any physical harm. Using an iron shovel, the protagonist knocked down the junior and then cast a spell to swap their appearances, turning the tables. The protagonist controlled the junior's actions and made her the scapegoat. The movie ends here. It's a tragedy sparked by jealousy. The seemingly innocent protagonist is actually a deeply dark witch. The story combines elements of witchcraft and zombies, with exciting plot twists that captivate the audience. Surprisingly, the villain has the last laugh. The unfortunate junior fails to get her revenge by the end. Given the hint in the final scene, there seems to be a setup for a sequel. If you appreciated this film as much as I did, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more insightful reviews. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to bringing you more reviews soon. See you next time on Real Views.